accustomed to meditation being a sitting down practice. In reality, it is more a practice of being aware when you're in motion more than anything else. So that when you actually sit, you confirm the realities that you're living as you're walking and moving around. So, sit up straight, breathe in deeply. You know the routine, right? Breathe in until you can't breathe anymore, and then push it out. Breathe in again till you can't breathe anymore, and then push it out. You should feel that your body is becoming a little bit more relaxed, a little bit more lighter. Breathe in again till you can't anymore, and then push it out. In this moment in time, I'd like to ask you to let go of certain things that you're used to, like your name. Imagine having no name. Interesting. You actually don't have a name. You've decided to let it go. So let it go. Let that sit in you for a little bit. I have no name. That means the vibration behind the intent when everyone calls me no longer exists. Such as, if I have affection for someone, John. If I'm angry with John, John. If I'm suspicious about John, John. I have no name, so it's done for me. I don't have any of those energies towards me anymore. Now let go of your gender. Imagine that you're not considering yourself to be a man or a woman. What's that like? I don't walk around thinking of myself as a man or a woman. Let that go too. Let go of the roles that you play. Let go of the titles that you've become very attached to. And observe the energy within you. I have no name, I have no gender, I have no role, I have no title. And check how your energy is processing this. Now let go of your ideas, religion, beliefs. Let go of your nationality. You're not American, Jamaican, Cuban, Spanish, Venezuelan, African. Let go of your race. Let go of your language. Let these attachments fall to the floor. They're not yours. At least not at this moment. If I have no name, gender, role, title, religion, and if I choose to let go of the awareness of the body, in this awareness, how do I feel? How would I feel? And being in the state of awareness, who would I think of? Who would pull me? It would be God, the Supreme Energy, the ocean of love. So I allow myself to allow love and peace and purity to just keep seeping through to me, seeping deep inside of I, the soul, the original, eternal, pure, imperishable being. And if you practice to let yourself sit in this awareness and experience, your trust will increase for yourself and for others. Om Shanti.
Om Shanti.
The thing is that when you're cutting edge and when you're a doer, and she happened to see Brother Ed and Sister Gita transform before her eyes, she decided there must be something here. So this wonderful soul here, Jenna, decided to begin the Meditation Museum in Washington, D.C., well, right outside of Washington, Silver Springs, Maryland. And she decided that this was a way to introduce, after she studied, to introduce God and the Brahma Kumaris to all of the area. Now, as I said before, she's going everywhere to make this introduction.
Oh boy.
Oh boy, that's going to be something. And everybody that sees this bus, and I hope we'll all have a chance maybe
I
to
think
see
it's
it.
supposed to come and pick me up.
Okay, so everybody that does see it will get a chance to see. It says America Meditating, Soul Search, and it will be a reality TV show. So I really want you to give a warm Hollywood welcome to Sister Jenna from Washington.
Can you put the speaker a little bit louder?
I can talk a little bit higher, because it might squeak.
Yeah.
So thank you for the Hollywood welcome, which is what we do in Washington too. Clap. I thought Hollywood welcome would have been get up and do some dancing or disco. To the ballroom, to the electric slide, because that's what they do in Hollywood. In Washington, they clap. And they don't ever smile. Thanks, Roz. Thank you, Etta. And all the angels that put this together at such short notice. And I think what I'd like to do is to go more into our time together, more than what I'm up to. I'm always up to trouble anyway, so who wants to hear that, right?
Yes.
Life is a journey which we've all come to the conclusion. Sometimes you perhaps might grow into realizing there's no beginning and there's actually no end. It's just a story going on. And the question is, how do I understand the story and allow that story to become clear for me so that I don't waste time in picking up pieces rather in living my truth. And what has happened in the journey, and I can only convey my observations of my personal life, and I can convey to you stories that I've heard from great sages and saints, and I can convey to you many stories that I've heard from many individuals that have come to me for guidance or support over the years. But I've come to learn that the need to be happy and free lives in every human being. And every human being is born with this inalienable right that we're meant to be free. We are meant to love and be loved. And we're meant to offer respect and receive respect. But what makes the story exciting is when I'm not that in a particular moment and scene, where perhaps someone's not that for me. When someone is extremely rude, or when someone has betrayed my loyalty, or when someone has perhaps done something that was unspeakable. Are you able to continue to love and respect that person? That's a question. And it's usually at that time that we begin to define or reduce our capacity to love, because now we have a reason why that person doesn't deserve my love. Because they did that. And it doesn't warrant to be loved or respected. This morning I sound like a truck driver. No offense. And Sister Gita, who is sharing a room with me in the bed next to me, she's my mother. I said good morning to her in this husky voice, like, good morning. And she says, who that? Just like that, because she's Jamaican, you know? So she's like, who that? Who broke in the house, right? So I have to nurse it because I'm on film set all day today after this. So when we are challenged by a relationship or a situation, and it wasn't loving, and it wasn't pure, and it wasn't respectful, am I still able to trust that love and purity and respect belong to me, that they are huge ingredients in my life? And I wrote an article for the Huffington Post which was entitled Trust, Creating Trust in a Fear-Based Environment. How many of you read that one? Did anyone read it? And so, in many cases, do you remember those days when we used to play with puzzles? I know this crowd remembers puzzles. Remember how much we loved, seeing the picture of the puzzle and then breaking it down and then sitting together as a family and going through the motion of putting the pieces together. Do you remember there was always one piece that we thought should fit? Because we looked everywhere else on the table and there was no piece that would fit there. And what we did was, because it was so similar, we would do, that's it, right? That's it. Cut, that's it. So what we would do is move on and continue to try to put the pieces. And as we got closer to the completion of the puzzle, we were realizing that there might be a few pieces missing, and the problem is I don't remember that piece that I forced in to fit, because it's kind of putting itself together now. And life becomes like that for us, where there are times in relationships, there are 4 areas that you must write down that are important, that we all will encounter in life. One area is relationships. On a scale from 1 to 10, how happy are your relationships? With 10, the highest. So just think about that just for a little bit. And the second one is health. How healthy are you? And on a scale from 1 to 10, how much do you think about your health? With 10 being the highest. And for those of us over 10, we know what that means. Finance, the third one. How many of us worry about the mortgage? Paying the credit card, the car payment, the insurance, the medical bill, the debts that are owed. On a scale from 1 to 10, how many of us think a lot about making ends meet, with 10 being the highest? And last, the condition of my mind. How much do I govern my mind the way that I want my mind to think? The things that I want my mind to feel, where I'm in control of my thinking. With 10 being the highest, I'm in full control over what I want to think, feel, and say. Okay, so in these 4 crucial areas of our lives, taking care of those 4 areas. 1, relationships. Okay, so my husband and I are separating emotionally. We really don't have a relationship anymore. Okay, so my child has grown up and he's now a teenager that doesn't listen to me at all. Or my grandkids. Or my daughter-in-law, I still don't like her. Or my son-in-law, she could have done so much better. And how much of these particular areas do you find that when you turn to them in your mind, they really stimulate happiness, or that the destiny looks good for them? And so, if I must accept that my daughter has married someone that I don't think is at her standards, or my son, you know, whatever the case might be, or if my sister, or my husband, or my wife, or one of my best friends, if there's been some strain, how much am I able to give love and respect when the relationship of that person emerges in my mind? If I ask you to think about one person that is challenging your confidence to be loving, that's called diplomacy. But they're challenging your capacity to love and respect them. Okay, let's turn that around, and why don't you just accept that that's the part that they must play. But what's important here is, what is my part? And my part is to be true. And that is to give love, and to receive love, and to honor the life of another human being as I honor my own. How many of us do that? Because when we stop valuing the life of another human being, it's a clear indication that I no longer value my own. Because there'll be no reason under the sun why I wouldn't value the life of another person unless I myself am carrying that experience for myself. I wouldn't be able to decode the languaging if I wasn't feeling it for myself. If I wasn't at some point disregarding my own values somewhere along the way, I forced the piece of that puzzle into the picture because I didn't have the time to look for the right piece and trust that I just needed a little bit more time to find the right piece to put it in the right place. And as time moved on, I just completely forgot where I forced it in anyway. And the natural law of nature is to start to blame people why my life is collapsing. And all of that energy of blame or criticizing or ridiculing or judging, that actually attacks my natural, innate, childlike capacity to trust myself and to trust the life of someone else who's in my company. My body is the vehicle that I, the soul, use to get by. This body is the car, and the energy behind my eyes is the soul. And the soul is the driver to this body, and the soul is driving the body to gain experiences in life and to enjoy life. The purpose of my soul being in the body is to be happy, to be abundant, to be loving, to be kind. That's the reason why I'm in this car. It is supposed to be my fixed script. And when you're driving on the road, you bump into some other drivers, and they kind of cut you off. Miami drivers have gotten very interesting. When I was here 20 years ago, it was so much easier to drive on the highways.
Attention library customers, if your name is Shy, please come to the adult reference desk. Again, if your name is Shy, please come.
The drivers next to me don't value their vehicle that much. So they're just vroom, 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 and I'm like, okay, go for it. But we both ended up at the same red light. I didn't get that one. So we're in this vehicle called the body to live beautiful lives, to play out our parts. So taking care of the body requires the first fundamental ingredient. Think positively about your whole life experience and purpose for being here. And the second step is be vegetarian. I'm not going to lie or deceive anyone in this. Until you practice a vegetarian diet, how do you know how the body is supposed to feel holistically? If you put anything in your body that has gone through suffering, the suffering will touch suffering in your physical body. And so the way that you eat has a lot to do with the way that you will feel. And exercise. Now, I'm not going to be dishonest with you and tell you that I'm exercising, but I'm trying. I did 5 sit-ups this morning. I did. It's better than none. And so as I did my 5 sit-ups, I felt very good, Jen. Okay, let's go get a shower. And perhaps tomorrow I'll do 6. And maybe the day after tomorrow I'll do 6.5. And then maybe a week from now I'll go back to 2. Thanks, Omar. But I'm trying, and I know that exercise is important for my body, so I've been observing myself, paying attention to at least doing some few things. You might see me walking to a talk and I'm doing this. Is she okay? Yeah. I'm good. And so exercising the body says, I honor you and I respect you. So I was in Delhi last week, I think, and I was at a hospital getting a full check. You've got to try medical tourism, it's incredible. So they have a program called a prevention plan, and from 11 o'clock until 3, I was at the hospital. I did EKG, EEG, EEC, ABC, EPM, QRZ, LWYP, Z. And I also did a lung check, this check, a urine check, that check. I did an every check, including an MRI brain scan from my brain to my spine. Blood, everything, dental, eye, all for 300 US. Completely cared for. Clean environment, beautiful hospital. Margaret, I didn't know the chief of staff. Might have played a little part. However, nonetheless, when I sat there to wait for all of my reports, I remembered sitting in conscience and talking to God and go, I really do need to take care of my body more. If you give me a good report, I promise I'll do some exercise. So when my reports came back, they were pretty positive, with the exception of 1 or 2 things which were not, traumatic. I already had one that I knew, so there's another one that came up. One of the interesting things is that the day before, I conducted a talk to all the surgeons on the floor and the physicians. So one of the physicians that was checking me the next day was doing my ultrascan. And it was very, I've never been in such a compromising position in over 20 years. And I'm lying there, half robed, and there's a doctor checking me. I go, so tell me about the power to face. What you said yesterday. And I'm like, okay, it's just not my time. So I'm there, and then he's just checking everything, and I'm trying to give him some spiritual wisdom at a very awkward moment. Well, the power to face initiates cooperation. Oh, really? Oh, what's that? Oh, Dr. Detika, do you see this? What is this? And I'm like, huh? But that's India. You see, India is governed by the energy of bhavna, which is feelings. It's not, doesn't have to be analytically always in order for it to work, but you just need the love of people around you to make things work. You don't need wisdom. You need the love of the heart of people to make things happen. So nonetheless, when that was done, and as I was moving on and I went through that, I remembered saying, I want to take care of my body more. So I really started to drink more water, exercise, do more things, and I said, I'm going to keep my promise. Then when I got back, a day or two after returning, my jaw seized up. It's just like, and I couldn't speak, and I have like lectures all the time. And now a few days ago, laryngitis, and I have to be filmed to speak, and I'm going, and I found myself going inside of my soul and going, soul, you're okay. Car, what's your problem? Soul, you're okay. Car, what is your problem? Fix your sound. Fix your jaw. Make sure you go to Amar and get the right medicine. So you need to be active and proactive, because the car is important to you to get to places, right? And then comes finance. We are conducting this, I'm involved with this wonderful television production ran by 3 celibate filmmakers that lived in an ashram for 20 years in Mount Abu, India. And these young men have mastered their art of filmmaking in that ashram. That if I were to show you the quality of their work, you haven't even seen it on television yet. And yesterday, one of the producers in the television show witnessed the first episode, and he was surprised. He goes, I had no idea it was going to be of this quality. He's like, this is not even on television in the US yet. And I'm watching how important it is for them to be able to have the proper finances to make it work. And I know this is going to be a good thing for everyone involved, especially the message to humanity in which if you rise, everyone around you will rise. And I'm seeing how much of a skeletal crew they're working with because of their budget restraints. But they're not stopping because of their bhavna. Even if they don't have a penny, they're going to make this thing get done. You know. So to have finance, even to do something good in life, is important. It's not just finance to pay your bills and your mortgage and your insurance for health and your car and your car payment, and to be able to go to Macy's and buy an outfit on sale and they tell you it's 50% off when you know it's really not. So having enough money is not just for my personal needs, but even beyond my personal needs, do I have enough money for charity? That I can help good causes along the way. I remember working on a project called 1010, and I hope Ross might delete this part when they edit it. But I got involved with a group of well-intended people at the time, and they still are. And they were looking for funding for their company to do things. But on the counter of the president were wine bottles that were $300. So my question was, well, if you're looking for funding and your bottles of wine are costing $300, why don't you give up the wine and put the money to the company? It wasn't in their consciousness. So there are times that we need to trust and understand the flow of money as an energy. That if the flow of money is offered in charity, the energy of that has to come back to me 1,000,000 times, because it's no longer just for me. It is for some energy bigger than me. So the law of the universe says, I must give you in the return 10 times more than what you've given back to me. It's kind of like when you throw a pebble in the water and it ripples. So how are your finances? Are you earning it in the right consciousness? Are you earning money out of fear? Or are you earning money out of the joy that it will be of good use in the future? That's important for you to adjust so that you can begin to trust that finance and the fortitude of this little piece of paper will help you to do a lot more. This is towards it. And it's exactly where it goes. They don't want anything for themselves. So I know they'll be okay. And then there's the last one, which is the workings of the mind. I didn't mean to say that. So sorry. But we do anyway. Have you found yourself having thoughts that are just useless? How many times have you had an appointment to be somewhere and you go, oh my God, I'm late, I'm late, I'm late, I'm late. How many times have you confirmed, I'm late? Useless thoughts means waste of your natural resource called spiritual energy. How many of you have looked at someone and said, oh my goodness, what is she wearing? Did she really look in the mirror before she left the house? How many of you have said, I cannot believe he's married to her? How many of you have thought about just the way someone is? Naturally, they might not be this profoundly beautiful energy who walks into the room and commands the space, but they are more like, oh my gosh, like Schleprock. Remember Schleprock and Flintstones? Oh, why always me? Oh, and then you go, oh my God, she is such a downer, don't go there. All of that is useless thoughts, energies that are not useful for our future. And so it means that we're not in control of our minds and how our minds are supposed to think. But we are masters. And until we can put into relationships, finance, health, and our minds the most profoundly pure, positive, and powerful thoughts and attitude and behavior, how will we ever trust the environment that we're in, the space that we're in, the relationship that we're in, even our future? So when we talk about creating trust in a fear-based environment, we have to remove the fear from inside of our own heads first. So if you're living in your car, and in your car, as you're driving, you're afraid that something's going to happen to you, well, that's my mistake. I know this girl, and when she walks into the room, she's like, I'm here, you know, she wants to let everyone know that she's arrived in the room. And so she seems very confident, very secure. But one of the most interesting things is when she's in a car, and she's driving her car and somebody cuts her off. She goes through every gesture to express how much fear is living there. And I sit there quietly, just composed and perplexed, how she can emanate this person that walks into a room like she's so confident. And yet, now that she's threatened with something that she cares a lot about, which is her car or her life, something else comes up. She gets angry, she gets vicious, she cusses the other person off and gives them funny looking hand gestures. I won't mention how that looks. And then the horn. So when you're threatened, you get a chance to see the truth. Because if you're threatened and you can come out with faith in God and faith in yourself and trust in your future, then that's the truth when you're threatened. But if upon going through that, there is just all of that insecurity and anger and flight and fright, you know what I mean? And so,
Deer in the headlights.
and then you come out of it with that angst. And it's a clear indication that there's a need for more work on the inside. That's all. And let's look at some steps to do the work, shall we? Okay. First step is to accept that you have maybe some issues with trust. If you have no issues with trust and you are completely trusting, then that's fine. You don't need to write anything down on a piece of paper. But first check, what are your issues where trust is concerned in these 4 areas? Relationship, health, finance, and the mind. Or relationship, finance, the body, and the mind. Okay? So you have to find out in these areas, where do you feel a lot of insecurity? You might say, well, I feel that my boss doesn't like me at work and he will fire me in a minute. So then I have to, what they say, kiss up to him. Do you really believe that? Or are you feeding that as your belief system? Because whether he likes you or not, if you're good at your job, that's it. If he lets you go, then I trust I'll find something better. Rather than going into an office with fear, allowing my manager to be so powerful that I can't work for my 8 hours happily because I'm working only with the fear that today he might can me. So that means I'm not trusting, right? So check where your issues of trust are. Okay? The second thing to do is to begin to look at what you think would be the best practice to turn that complete issue of trust around. So I want you to replay how it would feel if you walked into your office and that manager was your best friend. And how that would play in your consciousness as thoughts. How that would move you. So you have to turn that way of looking at yourself in a different light. And you've got to keep doing it until you start to feel naturally like, my manager really is a friend for me now. You might be just learning something from them. The third component is to recognize that fear, F-E-A-R, equals algae, A-L-G-A-E. A for anger, L for lust, G for greed, A for attachment, and E for ego. Once again, algae, A-L-G-A-E, is an acronym that I use that basically defines A for anger, L for lust, G for greed, A for attachment, and E for ego. So if, for whatever reason, you allow your consciousness to believe more in algae than in your true sense of self, then understand that you've increased your capacity to not trust your destiny. Because fear and love cannot live in the same car. They cannot be companions. So you have to choose, who do you want to have as your passenger? Allow those experiences to keep increasing in you. Your trust will come back to your world, and you will get out of your comforts and your limits, and you'll start to extend yourself to trust others a whole lot more. You're not trusting people naively. You are living from your own self-trust, which will attract beautiful situations in your life. It's not that you are trusting people and you're going out to trust people now that you know, but you're working on your own self-trust, and that vibration of your inner trust will attract the right kind of people into your narrative. It's been the law from the beginning of time. So fear will always connect to algae, never to love. So you check that. And the last thing is to ask yourself, what is trust? What is it? Because trust and faith is different. Trust is this very innocent, uncorrupted energy that just intuitively is protected and knows what to do. Trust intuitively can feel what will happen, not faith. Faith needs knowledge and skills. Trust lives with feelings. This is why if you're in a marriage for 10 years and your wife or your husband is unfaithful, you'd say, but I trusted you. And what it takes to restore that feeling of trust, not faith, but that feeling of trust is time. And many, 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 many moments of the one that betrayed your trust to show you that they can be trusted again by not messing up and paying attention to the small things. But it's not about somebody else trusting me. It's not about me trusting my spouse or my partner, my business friend or my best friend or my child. It goes back to my own self-trust as a living energy. Am I living from a place of love, peace, purity, truth, or joy? Or am I living from algae? It's been a long time since we have, time's up, right? Okay. It's been a long time since we've been able to truly embrace our worthiness and our powers as people. And little by little, we're returning to that. So it takes time to shift the algae out of the consciousness back into the true sense of self. And I always say this, truth will never change, but every time you listen to truth, it will change you. That's why it's important to listen to good things. And it's important to entertain your mind with healthy, elevated ideas. So so that it keeps changing you, which is the inevitable, changing you back to peace, love, purity, and power. So, trust is all about